it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet the Squishy Crochet Spring Bunny. This is such a cute and fast little project you can make for your home decor for spring, Easter, what have you. It's big and squishy like a throw pillow, so you could use it as a throw pillow. You could put it in a basket and just kind of set it around for some decor as well. It makes a really cute little handmade gift, and we're going to learn how to make this step by step. But before we begin, I just wanted to share with you the free written pattern can be found over at the blog. You can see the step-by-step directions, all the yardage for the yarn, etc. You can get the full video tutorial with me today. You can also get the ad-free PDF on my Ravelry store and Etsy store as well. All the links are down below. And also you can join our Patreon Pattern Gold Club for Fiberflux, and for $5 a month you get all the PDFs of that month's patterns. So that's a really fun place to hang out as well. So we're going to learn how to make this bunny from the bottom. We're going to make like a flat bottom so your bunny can sit flat on a surface. Work upward, making some pretty pastel stripes. Our bunny kind of looks like an Easter egg. Then we're going to learn how to shape the bunny's head. We're going to add a very simple little nose and some very easy little eyes. We're going to do some French knots. Now you could do buttons or what have you if you prefer. And we're going to learn how to make these easy one round flowers because our bunny has a flower crown, as well as some ears. These are open ears, and we're going to crochet around some pipe cleaners to give them some sturdiness. So we're going to do this from start to finish and then stuff the bunny as well about partway through. Before you do anything else, be sure and like this video and hit the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux video updates. Okay, our finished bunny has a circumference around its body of 29 inches. The body itself, from the bottom to the top here, is about 11 inches tall. Each of these ears are about 5 inches tall. And then the total height from the bottom all the way to the top of the ears is about 16 inches tall. Each of these flowers are about 2.5 inches wide, okay, just to give you an idea. Now, we're using some plushy yarn, which we'll talk about in a minute, but if you change up your yarn, like if you go to a thinner yarn and a smaller hook, for example, your bunny will be slightly smaller. Likewise, if you go to a thicker yarn, your bunny will be a lot bigger. So just keep that in mind if you're substituting yarn, and we'll talk about the yarn more specifically in just a minute. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle. A tape measure is super helpful, especially if you want to change up the sizing of your bunny a little bit. We're going to be using 2 pipe cleaners. Now, these are the longer ones. They sort of have like a half size at the craft store, like a shorter size, and then they have this like full size. This is about 11 or 12 inches or so. You'll need 2 of these because what we're going to do later is put these in the ears of our bunny and give it some structure and stability. And you can kind of like bend the ears how you want. And it just gives them a little bit more to hold them up. We're going to be using some fiber fill, also known as polyfill. It comes in a big bag at the craft store. Now this is the stuff that's kind of usually in like throw pillows and things like that, or stuffed animals. We're going to be using this for the one that I'll be making in the video, but I encourage you to use some recycled materials too if you have them, such as yarn scraps, cotton balls I've even seen people use, fabric scraps and what have you. So this is a great way if you've been saving your yarn scraps and you don't know what to do with them, use them to stuff your bunny. I happen to have a big bag of this left over from another project, so I'm going to be using the fiber fill. You'll also need some scrap yarn to do the eyes. We're going to embroider some pretty eyes on our bunny. I have just a few yards here of some super bulky black yarn, just I had a little bit left over from something. I always save my yarn scraps too, but we're going to use this to do a little bit of embroidery. If you're not comfortable with embroidery or new to it, I'm going to walk you through that part step by step. So just a few yards of that. You don't have to use black. You could use one of the colors we're using here or something else, but just a few scraps of something that you want to use for the eyes. I'm going to do the nose in purple. So we're going to be using this yarn here. This is a super bulky 6 on the yarn weight scale and recommends the K hook. So we're going to be using, this is called Toucan from Hobie. It's like a plushy chenille yarn. It's very soft and squishy, perfect for our bunny project. And we're going to use this palette I have here of these pastels to do kind of a striped base for the body, the bottom. And then we're going to use a ball of this gray color for the head, the top part, and the ears as well, okay? So let's just go through the color names if you want to replicate what I'm doing. This is also, as a side note, a great scrap yarn project because we are using stripes. You can really get creative in your colors and what you have on hand. But if you wanted to know what I have here, this yellow is called Pastel Yellow. It's number 5, color number 5. This is number 21, Sky Blue. This is number, let's see, I have it over here, number 17, Light Purple. And then this is called number 32, Cloud. So as you can see, I have this white desk or table here, and it's almost the color of the table. It's just a very pale gray, which I thought would be pretty for this. And then of course our scraps of the black yarn, okay? So we're gonna get started. We're gonna start from the bottom and work our way up, and then later we'll add the head and the ears, okay? So let's get started. Okay, so like I mentioned, we're going to do the striped base part first. I did mention this earlier too, but these same pastel colors, we're going to bring them up through our bunny and make some flowers along the top, like a little flower crown. So what we want to do, and I did a center pull, that's why I have this big glob of yarn here. So I'm just going to kind of organize it. And while I'm doing that, I just wanted to mention you can find the written pattern over at the blog, the full written pattern. We're going to do the full tutorial here on the channel visually. And you can also find the ad-free pattern PDF. I know a lot of you ask about that, but you can find the ad-free pattern PDF over in my Etsy shop and Ravelry shop. So all of those links are down below to access this pattern in lots of different ways, okay? So I grabbed our first color, which is the purple. I thought that would be nice and easy to see, and I'm just gonna come in a little bit. What we're gonna do is we're gonna create sort of like a disc, and that will allow our bunny to kind of sit flat, whether you're sitting in on a sofa or a table or what have you. So we're going to start by making just a crochet circle and build up from there, okay? If it has a rounded bottom, it's harder for it to sit up straight, okay? So what we want to do first is put a slip knot on our hook. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up a loop, and tighten. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a ring, and that's what we're going to work all of our stitches into, okay? If you prefer the magic ring, you can find the link to that over at the written pattern too, if you like to do the magic ring instead of a starting chain ring, or up above, I'll put the link to my other video if you would like to check that out too. So what we're going to do to begin is to chain 4. To make a chain, wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to join in that first chain to create a ring with a slip stitch. So insert the hook into that farthest chain from the hook, the first one we made, and then we're going to bring up a loop and then bring that loop through the loop that's already on our hook. Now we have a ring that we're going to be working into. Again, if you want to do the magic ring, you can check out the link above. Okay, so we're going to hold this tail along the edges we work, and that will weave it in as we go. It'll just save us some steps later. So for round 1, what we want to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work 11 double crochets into the center of the ring. So this chain 3 we just did actually counts as one of the double crochets. So we're going to be kind of creating a wheel with 12 spokes. So we have 1 spoke done, we need 11 more, okay? So let's work our 11 double crochets. To make a double crochet, wrap the yarn around the hook, insert it into the center of the ring, and bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. So that's 1 double crochet. We're going to hold this tail along the edge the whole time we're doing this. Okay, so that's 1, and then we're going to do 2, 3, I'm going to pick up speed a little bit, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can push things over if you need to. If you need to create some space in that ring, just kind of slide those stitches over. 9, 10, 11, pushing things over, and 12, okay? And I still have that tail along the edge, okay? So here is the beginnings. And what we're going to do to close the round is in that third chain up. So 1, 2, 3, we're going to join with a slip stitch to close. Insert the hook into that third chain up. Make sure when you do that you grab both loops on that chain. Otherwise it'll distort. It'll kind of like pull it out. We're going to wrap the yarn around the hook, bring it through the loop. Now bring that loop through the loop already on your hook, and our round is closed. Round 1 is complete, okay? Let's move on to round 2. We're going to stick with this color for the whole base, okay? So we're going to have the base will just be purple for us. Okay, so for round 2, what we want to do is we want to chain 3, once again, 1, 2, 3. And again, this is going to count as one of our double crochets. Hop over to that first stitch that you see, and you're going to work 1 double crochet into that first stitch. Then we're going to go into the next stitch and work 2 double crochets into that next stitch. So 1 and 2. Okay, and then we're just going to repeat that sequence all the way around. So go to the next stitch, work a double crochet. Next stitch, work 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. And what we're doing here by doing this sequence is we're increasing to create our flat circle so that our bunny can sit up straight, okay? Next stitch, 2 double crochet. Next stitch, 1 double crochet. Next stitch, 2 double crochet, 1 and 2. Next stitch, 1 double crochet. Next stitch, 2 double crochet, 1 and 2. Next stitch, 1 double crochet. Next stitch, 2 double crochet. And we're getting to the end here. So work your 2 double crochet, 1 and 2. And we'll straighten all this out later, okay? All right, and then that last one, we'll work 1 double crochet. And then we're going to join to close with a slip stitch once again. So count 3 chains up, insert the hook in that third chain up. Remember to pick up both loops there and close with a slip stitch, okay? And you can kind of straighten that out. Now what I like to do, this tail is sort of in the way. You can pull this tight, just be gentle. If you're using this chenille style yarn like we're using, sometimes it can snap because it's just a thread that runs through the middle of it. So it can snap pretty easily, okay? Okay, we're going to continue to increase for round 3. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And then what we're going to do for this one is work 2 double crochets into the next stitch. So 1 and 2. And then 2 double crochets into the next stitch and so forth. Okay, we're going to work 2 double crochets in every stitch all the way around. Okay? So go ahead and do that, 2 double crochets in each stitch, okay? I'm going to keep going with mine, and when we get towards the end of this round, we'll rejoin and move on to the next one, okay? So again, 2 double crochets in each stitch. Okay, just coming up to the end of the round, and we're just going to join with a slip stitch to close once again in that third chain up, okay? Now, for round 4, we're going to just repeat round 3 once again, okay? We're just going to make our base a little bit bigger. Now, you could stop here and start working upward, but I'm going to make mine just a little bit bigger so it's extra squishy and huggable and just a little bit bigger, okay? So we talked about a little bit when we talked about our tape measure about customizing. If you like the size of this and want that size, you could stop here if you want to, but we're going to keep going. So for round 4, we're going to chain 3 once again, 1, 2, 3, and we're just going to be repeating round 3, okay? So locate that first stitch and just work 2 double crochets into that first stitch. So 1 and 2, next stitch, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and so forth, okay? So once again, I'm going to keep going with my double crochets, 2 in each stitch all the way around, and then we'll rejoin and we're going to start working upward next, okay? So 2 double crochets in each stitch. Okay, just working the last stitch of our round. And then once again, we're going to join in the third chain up with a slip stitch to close the round. Make sure you get both of those loops. Sometimes I go in there and just grab one, make sure it's two. And then we're ready to move on to round 5. Okay, now you might notice there's a little bit of curling here and there. That's okay, it's going to kind of relax. We're going to stick with the purple for this last round, okay? So for our next round, this is the base. So we're going to start working upward, okay? But instead of having a rounded side, we're going to go straight up. So in order to do that, we need to create an edge, and we're going to do that with a back post double crochet stitch. If you're not familiar with this stitch, I'm going to help you. It's super easy. So what we want to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3. This will count as one of our back post double crochets. And then we're going to go over to, now see how this one lines up with the one directly below it? We're going to hop over to the next stitch. And when you have a stitch, you have the little loop at the top. That's what we've been working into so far, but it has a post, sort of like a column. So we're going to work around that post instead, okay? And then the rest of the stitch is about the same. So let me just zoom way in so you can see, if you're not familiar with this, we're going to wrap the yarn around the hook, and then we're going to take our hook and we're going to go behind our piece, come up through, go over top of that column that I described earlier, and back down. Then we're going to wrap the yarn around the hook, bring it back through the way you came, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. And that's it. Now, as you can see, it created a little ridge. When we sit our piece down, that'll give us a nice little edge on our work, okay? And once we do a few more, it'll be a little bit easier to see what I'm talking about. So we're going to do this for each stitch all the way around, okay? So wrap yarn around hook, go from the back, over top, back down, wrap yarn around hook, bring it back through the way you came, wrap yarn around hook, bring through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring through the last 2 loops, okay? And we're just going to do that. I'm going to pick up speed and we'll do a few more together. So just work a back post double crochet in each stitch all the way around, okay? All the way around. All right, so now that we have a few, I wanted to kind of show you what I meant. When you sit it down on the table here, see how it's just making that really nice edge? It gives it a nice little finished look too as it's sitting, okay? And it sits nice and flat, okay? So continue around working your back post double crochet in each stitch around, and when we rejoin, we're going to finish this round and we're going to start adding some more colors. We're going to start on our stripes next, okay? So just work your back post double crochets in each stitch around. Okay, just working that last back post double crochet stitch. And then we're going to join to close the round in that third chain up with a slip stitch once again, like we've been doing. And now we're ready to switch colors. So I'm just going to cut the yarn. Anytime you have this chenille yarn, you can kind of like pull the crumbs out a little bit so it won't shed everywhere. And we're going to set that aside and we're going to grab our next color. Wrap the yarn around the hook, bring it through the loop. Now the beauty of this project is that we don't need to weave in ends. We're going to switch colors pretty frequently because of the striping, but we don't need to weave in ends because we can just tuck them down inside our bunny. Okay, so as you can see, we have a nice little edge and we're ready to move on to the next color. I'm going to choose the yellow. All right, I'm going to do the yellow and we're going to back up a little bit because our piece is growing. So right where you left off, you're going to reinsert your hook back into that same stitch, hook the new yarn on, and then just tie it right on there, okay? So from here on out, we're going to be working half double crochet stitches, okay? They're going to be a little bit denser for our bunny. So reinsert your hook back into that same stitch, bring up a loop and chain 2, 1 and 2. Now, if you want to see a full breakdown round for round which color I use, the full list, you can hop on over to the blog and I have the full list. But all we're going to do, reach back into that same stitch, bring up a loop and chain 2. Okay, and I just wanted to say as a side note, you can hop on over to the blog and see the full list of every color I used for each round. So you can see round 1, what color, round 2, what color, and so forth, okay? In case you want to change it up or forgot what color I used for a particular round. Now, once we start doing our stripes and the rest of our bunny, including the head, we're going to just use half double crochet stitches. So to make a half double crochet, wrap the yarn around the hook, insert the hook into that next stitch, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through all 3 loops, just like that. And we're just going to work 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way around, okay? And that is pretty quick and easy. So just work a half double crochet in each stitch around, okay? And then when we rejoin towards the end of this round, I'll show you how to move on. Okay, just coming up to the very last stitch here. And we're going to join to close with a slip stitch like we've been doing in that second chain up. And our round is complete. Now you can see we have, it's almost like a little round tray forming. It comes straight up. Now we can look at the width of our stitches here on the side. Now these are a little thin for my liking. I'm going to do another round of the same color. So we're just going to keep repeating round 6, but I'm going to do 2 rounds of each color because I want my stripe to be just a little bit thicker, okay? So just keep repeating round 6 because just to recap, we did round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was that back post double crochet, and then 6 was our half double crochet round. So we're just going to repeat this half double crochet round, and we're going to create the stripes and work our way upward. I'm going to do 2 rounds of each color for the striping though. And if you remember, I mentioned earlier in the video that if you were getting some rippling with your circle, it would kind of straighten out. So you can sort of like form the tray shape, if you will, with your hands. And as you can see, it's nice and flat now, okay? So just keep repeating round 6, and you can make this as tall as you would like it to be. When we rejoin, I'm going to show you some, I'm going to give you a count of our stitches and the number of colors and stripes that we used. But just repeat round 6, and we'll rejoin when we're finished these rounds, and then we're going to switch to our gray and we're going to work on the bunny's head next. Okay, coming up to the end of our round here, and we're just going to join with the slip stitch to close the round. Make sure you pick up 2 loops there so it won't distort your stitches. And then we're done our kind of straight-sided part, okay? So let's recap what we've done. You can see we've made some beautiful progress with some gorgeous colors. So we did rounds 1 through 5 with the purple. We did our base and our back post double crochet stitches to give us, remember that little ridge that we need so it can sit nice and flat? Then we moved on to do some striping with half double crochets. And as you can see, we've done some of the gray. This is going to be kind of the beginnings of the bunny's head up top here, okay? So let's just, again, recap. We repeated round 6 over and over and over again when we last were crocheting together. And now we have 16 more rounds, okay? So we repeated round 6 over and over and over again. And this was a total of 16 rounds. So we have 2 yellow, 2 blue, 2 purple here. And then I repeated it again. Okay, so I just did like 2 sets of the colors. And then again, our base was purple. So I just kind of kept it in the same color order. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So once we were done the base, we did 16 rounds, okay? So if you're following along in the written pattern, remember we did rounds 1 through 5 for the base, and now 6 through 21 of half double crochet stitches, okay? So if you're following along with the written pattern. Now we're gonna move on, we're gonna start shaping our bunny's head, okay? So what we wanna do, and this part is really easy, we're going to chain 2, same thing we've done before. Then what we're going to do is work a half double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And I'm going to just zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better here. So we're going to work a half double crochet into the first stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch. So that's 2, half double crochet into the next stitch, that's 3, half double crochet into the next stitch, that's 4. Then we're going to work a half double crochet 2 together over the next 2 stitches. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's come in just a little bit closer. And what we're going to do is decrease, make 2 stitches into 1 stitch, okay? And so that is all you're going to do is wrap the yarn around the hook, insert the hook into that next stitch, and bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook again, insert it into the next stitch, and bring up a loop. You're going to have 5 loops on the hook. And then you're going to wrap yarn around hook and bring it through all 5 loops. And we've just turned 2 stitches into 1. It looks slightly different, but it's going to blend, okay? And then we're just going to repeat this sequence all the way around, okay? So let's do a few more together. Let's work a half double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So that was 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll work a half double crochet over the next 2 stitches. Wrap yarn around hook, insert it into the next stitch and bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook. Wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into the next stitch and bring up a loop, and you will have 5 loops on the hook. Yarn around hook, bring it through all 5 loops, okay? And you can already see it's just sort of like starting to curve a little bit, okay? And we're just going to do this all the way around. So let's do one more together and then we can kind of depart and do it on our own. So work a half double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to work our half double crochet 2 together over the next 2 stitches. So 3 loops, yarn around hook, bring up a loop, 5 loops, yarn around hook, bring through all those loops, and we've decreased, okay? So keep repeating this around, and when we rejoin, we're going to keep decreasing and keep working more rounds and shape up our head. Okay, we've come all the way around and now we're at the last 2 stitches, so we'll just work a half double crochet 2 together across the last 2 stitches to finish up the round and join in that second chain up with a slip stitch to close, okay? Okay, so round 22 is complete. Let's move on to round 23. So for round 23, we're going to decrease, but we're going to start decreasing more. So we're going to chain 2 once again. And this time we're going to work a half double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, okay? So work a half double crochet into that first stitch, into the second stitch. This yarn is very fluffy. Sometimes I have to pull it apart. And a half double crochet into that third stitch. And then we'll work a half double crochet 2 together once again over the next 2 stitches, okay? So just to refresh, insert the hook into the next stitch, bring up a loop. Actually, let me back up. We did wrap yarn around hook, then insert the hook into the next stitch, bring up a loop. 3 loops are on the hook, yarn around hook, insert it into the next stitch, bring up a loop. 5 loops are on the hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through all 5 loops, okay? So we're just going to continue doing the same thing all the way around. A half double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, so that's 1, 2, and 3. And then a half double crochet 2 together over the next 2 stitches, okay? So keep doing that all the way around, and when we rejoin, we'll move on to the next one. Okay, coming up to the end, we're at the last 2 stitches and we're just going to work a half double crochet 2 together across those last 2 stitches, join to close with a slip stitch, okay? All right, so round 23 is complete. For round 24, we're going to continue with this same decreasing trend, and this time it's basically the same thing, but we're going to go down even more. We're going to chain 2. This time we're going to work a half double crochet across the next 2 stitches. Let me just wedge my hook in there. It was a little snug. So work a half double crochet in the next stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to half double crochet 2 together across the next 2 stitches, okay? So same thing we've been doing, we're just kind of shrinking it down, okay? Just like that, all right? So continue around this time working a half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So let's do one more together. Half double crochet, half double crochet, and then a half double crochet 2 together across the next 2 stitches, okay? So we're just gonna do that all the way around, okay? So keep doing that, and you can see the opening is getting a little bit narrower. We're starting to get a nice curve, okay? So continue in that sequence around, and then we'll rejoin, finish up round 24, and move on to round 25. Okay, coming up to the last 2 stitches again, we're just gonna work a half double crochet over these last 2 stitches. And then we're gonna join with the slip stitch once again to close the round. Okay, so round 24 is complete. You can see it's getting even narrower at the top. And so now we're going to move on to round 25. So you can probably guess what is next in our sequence. We're going to chain 2 once again. We're going to work a half double crochet into that first stitch. And this time, to continue with our decrease sequence, we're going to work a half double crochet 2 together across the next 2 stitches. Okay, so work your half double crochet 2 together over the next 2 stitches, and then a half double crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to keep with that sequence all the way around now. Okay, so let's do that together. We did a half double crochet. Now we're going to do a half double crochet 2 together over the next 2 stitches, half double crochet into the next stitch, half double crochet 2 together over the next 2 stitches, okay? And just repeat that all the way around, and then when we rejoin, we'll move on to our final decrease round. Okay, just coming up to the end of the round, we're going to join with a slip stitch once again to close the round. And you can see we have some really nice rounding of our cute little bunny's head. So the final decrease round that we're going to do is round 26. So if you're following along with the written pattern on the blog, what we're going to do is chain 2. Okay, we're just going to work a half double crochet 2 together across these first 2 stitches here. And it might be getting a little snug. That's okay. Just take your time. All right, and do the same thing over the next 2 stitches. And so forth all the way around. Okay, we are at the end of the round. So the next thing we want to do is just join to close with a slip stitch, and then we're going to cut a pretty decent tail, I don't know, 18 inches or so, 18 to 24 inches. And then we can take our loop here, wrap it around, and pull it through to fasten off, okay? So just kind of tighten that down. And again, you want to be kind of gentle with this yarn because it's has like a thread that runs through it. It's very plushy, but it does have just a single, thin thread that goes through it. So let's look at our handiwork here because it's kind of deflated right now, right? We're going to plump it up with some stuffing soon, but we have just enough space in this opening. You can see how much we've closed this up. We have just enough space in this opening now to add a little face onto our bunny, okay? We're going to do just a simple little nose and some eyes. Now, if you have sometimes when you do new colors, you get a little bit of a color jog, which is just like you can sort of see where you've joined. So we're going to put that on the back part, and we're going to stitch the bunny's face on the front, okay? So grab your yarn and your needle, and we're going to do that next. Okay, I grabbed the black for the eyes and the purple for the nose. And what we'll do is just grab a little bit for the nose. We just want to thread the needle here. We're not going to do nothing too complex, especially if, I know a lot of people are into embroidery, some people are not. So we're just going to kind of keep it simple. I'm going to have you cut about 24 inches of yarn here. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our hand in here to help guide, okay? So figure out where you want the bunny's nose to be. I'm going to make it right around here, okay? Let's zoom in just a hair. All right, so let's come up from the back. And what you'll do is you're going to use these rows that we've created as sort of a guide, okay? So pull your yarn almost all the way through. You can sort of let it stick out a little bit. and determine the width, we're just going to do a very simple little triangle, okay? So we're just going to sort of do a couple of stitches here just to make a cute little nose shape, okay? So I'm doing some kind of like horizontal lines, just two little parallel horizontal lines like this. And then we can kind of come in a little bit, maybe in between one of the next couple of stitches, and in between that next one, just so we're just going to making it a little bit narrow, because we're going to just doing a simple little nose, okay? And then maybe you can just repeat that again. Okay, just to kind of like strengthen it a little bit. And we're not going to pull it too tight. I sort of like the 3D effect that we're getting here. And then you could do some stitches that go upward, just to sort of like sharpen up the side a little bit. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of do the sides up like this. Kind of go in where I was and back up, just to give it like a symmetrical look here. You can kind of reposition these how you need them to be, okay? And let's just do one more just to kind of tighten it up a little bit here. Okay, and then you can sort of position it how you need it to be. All right, now we just have a little cute little nose here. And if you need to fix anything, see how this loop looks a little bit pronounced? You can kind of go into the back here and just sort of tighten it down if you need to, okay? All right, so let's go into the back. And once again, the beauty of this is that we can just tie this and it does not need to be woven in. You just kind of stuff it down in here and that's it, okay? Again, you can take your needle if you need to like pick up some of these stitches and, you know, make them look more uniform. Feel free to do that, okay? So we have our little nose now. Very cute, just very simple. Okay, so here's the black for our eyes, and eyes embroidering can get really complicated. You could also do safety eyes for this. We're going to do some simple French knots, okay? So you want to figure out before you start, we're going to cut a length of yarn, oh, I don't know, about 12 to 18 inches or so. And what we're going to do is just thread your needle, and you want to figure out the placement of your eyes. So this is the top of your bunny, and we want to imagine it's stuffed, okay? It's going to be plumper than this. And we're going to add two little eyes and the ears and the little flower crown. So you want to kind of picture where you want your eyes to go to begin, okay? We're just going to do two simple little eyes on either side of our nose, okay? So we're going to go in through the opening, and we're going to come up, and we're going to bring our needle up. If you've never done a French knot, it's okay. I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, so we're going to bring it up, leaving a tail in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our needle, and we're going to take the yarn, and we're going to just not pull it too hard because we haven't tied it. It's just kind of hanging out back there. But we're going to take our needle, and we're going to wrap the yarn around our needle 2 times. And then we're going to go back down in with our needle, not exactly where we came out of because it'll pull it through, but almost down in there. And we're going to go back right next to it and then just gently pull through. And we have a very cute little simple eye, okay? Now, look at where your eye is on this side, and we want to put it very similarly to the other side. So come up from the back, bring it up. Don't pull too hard. We want to be very gentle here because this eye can kind of pull through the yarn pretty easily. And we're going to go 1 and 2 around, and then we're going to go right next to where we came with this other one, okay? And we can shape this up later, so if it looks a little lopsided, it's okay. And then bring it back through. Super, super easy. Again, you can sew buttons or whatever. This is really fast and easy way to do eyes, okay? All right, now, without pulling again, we're going to take our 2 ends and just tie them together, okay? Just very gently tie them together on the inside just so they stay put, We don't need to tie them down tight or anything like that, just so they stay put, okay? Now we can stuff that back in there. All right, we have a face. Very cute. Has like a beautiful 3D looking nose as well. All right, we're about to stuff this. So we need to get our stuffing and also grab your tapestry needle because we're gonna cinch this closed next. All right, I have this giant bag of polyfill. I'm gonna kind of put it off camera a little bit because it's so big. But what we're gonna do is, this is pretty big. We're gonna take some handfuls of this and we're just gonna start stuffing our bunny body. Now, as you can see, you wanna leave this tail, I'm gonna scoot all this out of the way. You want to leave this tail in place. Don't stuff it down in your bunny because you'll lose it. But that's what we're going to tie it up with. So I apologize for the plastic crinkles. We're going to just stuff it. And if you notice, I'm not doing one giant blob of this. We're doing a little bit at a time. And that will give you more control over what you have going in there. Okay. Now we'll take a little bit of time just to fill this because it is big. It's almost like a little pillow at this point, but we're gonna be very careful not to disturb our embroidery too, okay? So we wanna just take handfuls at a time and stuff. Now you can see it's still very kind of deflated over here. So we wanna just go a little bit at a time, stuffing our bunny, okay? And you can kind of put your arm in there at one point and kind of send all this to the bottom. We want a look that is firm. We want a firm fill, but not so full that our stitches are going to stretch out. Okay, so you got to be kind of careful about that. Okay, so you can grab just handfuls at a time and stuff your bunny. Now I have to say it looks like a little Easter chick right now without its ears. It does look, has like a little different look, but we're going to put some ears on it very soon. And we just want to stuff this in there. Okay, we need to send some more to the bottom. Our bunny, it's going to have a very round, kind of plump base to it. It's kind of like an egg. We want it to look very Eastery. So it's going to look like a little stripy egg. Okay, and like I said, it's taking a lot to fill because it's big. Okay, it's like a big cylinder. And we're just going to keep stuffing and stuffing and stuffing until it is as big and firm. We want it to be firm. We don't want it to get deflated over time, okay? So we want to just, so I would recommend getting a nice big bag of this for this project. It's almost as, I would say as much stuffing as like a throw pillow. And do a test. Set it down on the table. You can kind of roll it like dough to shape it up a little bit, but you want to do handfuls of this, okay? So keep stuffing until everything looks nice and neat and smooth all the way around. Now I still have some lumpy areas that look a little bit deflated, and of course the top. So we want to do, just keep stuffing until it looks firm. Okay, our bunny has been stuffed and it's getting super squishy. So the next thing we need to do is make the ears and the flowers because we're going to eventually attach them on and add a little flower crown. So we're going to move on to those parts next. But the last thing we need to do for our bunny is to close up this top. And it's really easy. I have a tail here. I'm just going to use that. And like I said earlier with this kind of chenille style yarn, you want to be really careful because there's just a little thread that goes through it. So when you pull it tight, just be really careful that that you're not going to tear it or break it. Okay, so all I'm going to do is go around the outer edge here and with my needle, and you could hit a couple stitches at once here. But I'm just going to go all the way around, and my tail is kind of short, but I think it'll be okay. But we're just going to go all the way around with our needle. Make sure no stuffing comes out of there. And then we're back at the beginning, and what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of give it a nice little tug here and close up the top. You can sort of help with your other hand to help guide it, okay? All right, so just give it a little tug, and then I still see a gap. If you see a little gap in the opening here, I'm going to tilt it so you can see it. But if you see a little gap there, just take your needle and just do a couple more stitches, okay? This plushy yarn like this has a little bit of a grip to it. So sometimes it doesn't close all the way, okay? And now any tails you have, you can just stuff them right back in there, okay? So we're gonna move on to the ears and the little flower crown, and then our bunny, we're gonna start doing the finish work and finish it up, okay? So we now have our main basic shape, and let's add some ears and flowers next. For our one round little flowers we're gonna make a little flower crown like I mentioned before. We're going to just do a very simple, quick little flower. Like I said, in just one round. And so we're gonna use the same colors as the stripes that we use. We're gonna make one of them together. So what we wanna do is put a slip knot on our hook to begin. And I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit more so you can see better. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up a loop and tighten. Then what we're gonna do is we're going to create a ring, similar to how we did the base of our bunny before, but this time we're gonna do 5 chains just because we're fitting a whole lot of stitches in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're gonna join in the farthest chain from our hook with a slip stitch. So insert the hook into the chain, bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop already on the hook. And now we have our ring. Side note, if you want to do the magic ring instead, please feel free to do that. I have a full tutorial on that. I'll put the link above for you. So we're also going to hold this tail along the edge as we work once again. So we're going to begin by making our petals. Our flower is going to have 6 petals, okay? So once you learn how to make one, and you just have to kind of repeat the others for the other 5. So each petal is 3 double crochet and a slip stitch, and that's it, okay? So let's make it together. So for the first petal, we're going to do 3 double crochet. So 1, whoops, there we go, holding that tail along the edge, 2, and 3. And then to create that little divot in between the 2 petals, work a slip stitch. Insert the hook into the center of the ring, bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. And this is our first petal. It doesn't really look like much, but it's going to start becoming a flower soon. Then we're going to do the same thing. 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. Pushing things over, same as we did when we made our circle earlier. Just push it over to give yourself some more space, and a slip stitch to create the in-between part. And you can see how that slip stitch looks now with these 2, okay? And another petal, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, and a slip stitch, okay? 3 petals down, 3 more to go. 3 double crochet for the next petal, 1, 2, and my tail's kind of getting in the way. So that was 2, and then 3, okay? And then a slip stitch, okay? That's 4 petals. And then we're gonna do one more, 1, 2, pushing things over as needed. It's very fluffy yarn. And 3, just like that. Whoops, my pipe cleaner's walking over here. And then slip stitch, okay? Let's do that last petal together, pushing things over again. So 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, pushing things over, work a slip stitch into the circle. And then we're going to go to the base of that first petal that we worked. And again, it's very fluffy, so that's good and bad. It's a little hard to see because of the fluffiness, but it's very forgiving yarn. So just try to do the best you can. But we're going to insert the hook at the base of that first petal we worked and work a slip stitch. And then we're going to cut the yarn And remember, it leaves a little bit of crumbs, so you can kind of pull it off of those ends. It kind of keeps things a little bit neater. And we're going to take our yarn and wrap it around the hook and bring it through the loop, okay? Then we need to shape up our flower a little bit. So you can take this tail that you wove in and just give it a gentle tug. Sometimes it'll break off like that. That's okay. I tugged it and then I was going to snip it anyway, but just be real gentle. And then just shape your petals. And then they'll be ready. You can save this tail because then they'll be ready to sew onto your bunny. Now it's on the end. So as I make each flower, I like to kind of prep it because you can just sew it right on. But I like to take my tapestry needle and just kind of direct that tail towards the middle of the flower. And now it's ready to sew. But you can sort of shape up each one of these petals. I like to make sure that dip is nice and apparent. And then you can just repeat for your other flowers. So we have the blue and the yellow. So just make a few more flowers to make your little flower crown. And then we're going to move on to the next part. Okay, so we're going to make the ears next. Now, our ears are a little bit different. We're going to be crocheting around our pipe cleaners. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, these pipe cleaners are going to give our ears some stability and sturdiness, okay? So what we want to do, I sort of shape them so you could visualize how they look, and we're going to shape them up later. But what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our pipe cleaners and we're going to straighten it out nice and flat here. And then we're going to take our yarn, take the gray yarn that you use to make the bunny's head, and we're going to just tie it right on. So I'm going to give this a fresh cut, just there's some little knot at the end of it, okay? And we're going to take our pipe cleaner and we're going to tie our yarn right onto the end of it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to crochet around this pipe cleaner and add one more row just to give it like some thickness, but we're going to do that, okay? So how to do that is to take the pipe cleaner and kind of lay it over your hand. It takes a little bit of, this first row will be a little kind of fiddly if you're not used to doing this. Take the hook, lay it under the pipe cleaner like this. Now take the yarn that's connected to your yarn ball. We won't worry about the tail right now. And we're going to wrap it around the hook and we're going to kind of bring it around the pipe cleaner like that, okay? So now we have this loop, okay? Now we're going to chain two and we're going to turn our work just like we were working a row, okay? And you can kind of push this over if you need to. And what we're going to do is just work half double crochets all the way down this pipe cleaner, okay? And we're going to kind of push them together as much as possible to smush them, okay? So wrap the yarn around the hook, go around the pipe cleaner and bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through all 3 loops, okay? And then you can kind of like push it over. You don't have to push it each time, but every so often we're going to push it over. And we're just going to do this all the way across, okay? So that was 2, and then 3, and then 4. And before you get too far along, we want to push this over. We don't want to do an entire row all at once. It's just a lot harder, okay? And we're starting to get a little fluffy bunny ear here, okay? So that was 4. And we're going to go 5, 6, 7. I'm just counting these to give you an idea. And then 8. Get a little bit more yarn. 9, 10, and it might curl up. That's okay. We can always bend it back. 11, and so forth. I'm going to continue across and then keep pushing it over. We don't want any of this yellow to show, but keep pushing it over, smushing it together. I'm going to keep going to the end and I'll let you know how many I did also. So keep going with your half double crochets all the way down your pipe cleaner. Okay, 47 and 48. Okay, and it might get a little fiddly there at the end. You're just kind of holding on to this teeny tiny tip here. And then what I do is just kind of bend it down just so we can, I bent this side too, just to keep those stitches from falling off the edge. So what you want to do now is make sure there's no pipe cleaner showing through. I used bright green, probably should have found a gray one, but it is good to show you how it shows through. So here is our ear, super easy to make, right? And it's very shapeable. So we're gonna shape this up later, but I wanna give it a little bit more of an edge, a little bit more of a substantial look because it will be going on a large bunny, okay? So we're gonna do a second row of this, just real simple single crochet. So all you wanna do is chain one and then just turn the ear, and then just work a single crochet in each stitch, okay? Now it's gonna give you a little bit more to hold on to this time because we already did a row. You're not holding on to this kind of flimsy pipe cleaner. So we're just gonna work in each stitch across. Now we kind of smush the stitches together to cover up the greens. We might need to reposition everything once we're done, but the green of the pipe cleaner is what I mean. But we're just gonna work in each stitch, and we'll get all this straightened out later. You can bend this down if you need to get it out of the way. But we're gonna get all this out of the way later and straighten it up and give it a nice, give it a nice shaping, okay? So just work a single crochet in each stitch across. And then once we get towards the end of that, we'll rejoin, and I'm gonna show you how to just kind of put all this together because we're gonna have all of our elements and we're gonna do a little bit of finish work at this point, okay? So again, single crochet in each stitch across, and we're going to rejoin when this is done just so you can see the finished look, okay? Okay, just coming up to the edge here, working our single crochet in that very last stitch. And then what we're going to do is cut yourself a nice long tail because we will sew this on later to our bunny. So you want to have a little bit of a tail here to work with. And then grab your hook and just fasten off. So just pull it through, fasten off. And you can take this other tail and kind of just like tie them together just for a little extra. And if you're getting some crumbs from this yarn, this chenille, it kind of, every time you cut it, it leaves some crumbs. So just that's okay. So the last thing we want to do is you're going to see the back of the ear is kind of like got some loopies where we crocheted, but the front of it looks very smooth. So we want to use that side. So just pick your favorite side. Make sure once again, all that pipe cleaner is covered. And then what we'll do is we'll just kind of shape this ear up, okay? So I found the easiest thing to do is to just hold it along the table here and just sort of flatten it out using that, the metal of the pipe cleaner that's inside just to kind of like shape it up on a table. You can bring this up to a little point if you want to. And it makes a lovely bunny ear. Super easy, right? Now, this little bit of pipe cleaner sticking out, we're going to deal with that later, so don't worry about that right now. So the next thing you want to do is you want to repeat. So you have 2 ears, and you can make these taller and narrower like this when you go to put it on your bunny, or you can make them kind of wider like that. It's up to you. We're going to play around with that later. So make a second ear, and then when we rejoin, we're going to kind of put all of these elements together. We've done a flower together, we've made our bunny, and we're going to kind of like assemble everything together and do our finish work next. It's getting really exciting. We now have all the parts gathered. Okay, so I grabbed all the parts because now we're ready to assemble. Now I went ahead and did one of each color, or no, excuse me, 2 of each color of the flowers. So 2 purple, 2 blue, 2 yellow, and then we have our ears, okay? And it kind of looks like the bunny's peeking up, just as a side note. Okay, so we're gonna do the ears first. So grab your tapestry needle and your scissors. You can sort of hold the bunny in front of you like I'm doing here. Now you'll want to take the top, look at the top, and you want to figure out where you want the ears first. Because your flowers sort of have to sit in front of them, okay? So they're going to hide some of the mechanics of these ears. So you just want to get them tacked down pretty good, and then, you know, not worry about it. So we have these, remember when we made our ears, I kind of folded these pipe cleaners down. We can kind of fold those out of the way, or you can straighten them up. Just be very careful that no stitches fall off the edge, and you can sort of like tack them down into the bunny. I'm going to fold them back just a little bit and also tack them down, but I wanted them to be folded back so that the stitches don't fall off the edge, okay? So our bunny ears have a tail or two, depending on, you know, what you've woven in or trimmed or what you were left with. And you want to figure out first to take your two ears side by side and figure out the front and the back, okay? I kind of like the way this looks best. So I'm going to just take my tail and we're going to just do the two sides here, and we'll straighten up the ears in just a minute, okay? So I'm just going to kind of tack them down like that. So the easiest way to do it is to fold it, find the middle, and we're going to go just a little off center of that. And we're going to fold the ear forward like that and stitch it up that way, okay? So you can kind of put the bunny on its side, and we're going to sort of like stitch them that way, okay? So there's two tails here. The other tail I'll remove later. But fold it forward. And you want to make sure, using that center that we closed up, use that as a guide. Fold your ear forward, and then we're going to just stitch it. So just take, I'm kind of squishing it down so you can see it, but just take the sides here, and then we're just going to like pick up some stitches. Make sure you pick up from the bunny and the ear, and we're just going to go all the way across. And again, this tail we'll deal with later. Okay, so remember we did two pipe cleaners, and I sort of bent them into the right shape. So we're gonna just sort of shape those up when we're finished. But it doesn't take very many stitches because the bottoms of the ears are pretty small. Okay, and then when you're done that, you can take these two tails just for added security and just sort of like tie them together. And once again, you can kind of stuff these tails down. You can even go in between the stitches if you want to, but just sort of stuff those in there. Okay, and then fold your ear back up and see how it looks. Okay, now I will say your flowers, when you put the flowers on later, they're also going to hold the ear in place. We're going to kind of use them to anchor the ears. Okay, so they might be a little floppy right now, and also make sure you're covering up your pipe cleaner as well, okay? So just kind of shape that up a little bit, and then we're going to grab our other one, and we're going to do the same thing. Same thing, making sure your pipe cleaner is covered. You don't want any of that bright green showing through. And then we're going to kind of locate where we want the ear to go, and you can kind of like fold it forward once again, grab that tail. We have another tail on this ear. And just thread your needle, and then kind of make sure they're symmetrical looking as much as possible. And then I'm gonna squish this down so you can see the top of it. And then you're just gonna sew the ear on this side as well, okay? So I just am using my tail. If you don't have a tail, just grab another piece of yarn is fine, okay? And everything's going to be kind of floppy and all over the place right now. You might even see a little bit of pipe cleaner at the base. That's okay. We're going to get this all cleaned up with these flowers. The flowers are really helpful little anchor for us, okay? Okay, now take your two tails like we did before and just tie them together, okay? So just tie those two little ear tails together, and once again, you can stuff those down into in between the stitches of the bunny, okay? Easiest way to weave in ends ever, right? So we're just gonna stuff those in there, and then the ears are gonna be a little goofy right now, but that's okay. We're gonna get all that straightened up in just a minute. Okay, so what you'll wanna do now is just kind of bending these ears into place. What you'll wanna do now is kind of shape that up. We're gonna take our flowers and we're going to start stitching them on, okay? So you want to take your little flower crown flowers and just kind of figure out how you want to place them. Do you want to do them in a pattern? Do you want to sort of cluster them? I'm going to do like purple, blue, yellow, purple, blue, yellow, like a sequence like that. So for your each flower that you made, you'll have a center tail. Now you want to just give that a little tug and a trim. Okay, we don't need to okay, but this other tail we're going to use to sew on our flower. Okay, so it's kind of on the edge right now, and there's a knot because that's where you left off. Just kind of take your needle and kind of head towards the middle to get it started. Okay, now you'll want to tilt your bunny upward and look at it and see. Now I have some yarn crumbs here, I'm going to get those off. But you want to see kind of where you want these flowers to go. Now I definitely want to hide some of these mechanics here. So we're going to do, I'm going to start this first one right in front of this ear here, okay? So just take your needle and you can sort of like fold it over, if you will, and grab some ear, grab some of the bunny body, and grab the back loops of the flower. Don't go in the front loops of the flower because it'll show. And we're just going to sort of just tack that flower down, okay? You want it to stay on pretty good, but if you over seam it, it might flatten it out. So just be mindful of, you know, when you're seaming. And you can go through the ear if you need to, etc. Okay? So we just want to get that flower tacked down. I'm going to do one more little stitch here. And because we're using the tail, it's conveniently a, whoops, I went around the ear. Definitely don't do that. But because we're using the matching tail, it's conveniently a exact match. So you can sort of go through your bunny ear and back down, and it won't show. It'll hide really nicely. Okay? So we want to go ahead and sew those flowers on. And then what we'll do is, once you have your flower how you want it, now again, this is just the first flower, we're going to flip this over and we're just going to sort of go into a stitch here like that and pull it almost all the way through and then go through your tail like that, okay? And then you can sort of like weave it in or trim it flush. Again, this yarn is very plushy and very forgiving. A lot gets hidden away, okay? So, and again, we got to shape the ears up still. Okay, so repeat for your other flowers. We're just going to kind of like lay them where we want them and stitch them into place. And then when we rejoin, we'll look at our handiwork. Okay, our bunny is done. We have sewn these cute flowers across here. We've added the ears. Now I have the bunny laying on its side. I'm kind of holding the ears up. But if you're having trouble with the ears being floppy, what I did was I used the flowers in the front when I stitched them on to give the ears stability. And then in the back, I added a bunch of extra stitches just to really make, if you press on it here, it's very rigid. There's a lot of stitches in here. So I just kept kind of strengthening the back, strengthening the front to get those ears nice and sturdy and the way that I wanted them to look. You can see it's laying on its side and they're kind of not really moving around, okay? So you could also, if you wish, you could make your bunny a floppier bunny as well. So our bunny is complete and it looks really good. And I would love to hear in the comments below what you will be doing with your bunny. Are you going to be putting your bunny in a basket? Will it be a cute throw pillow? I'd love to hear. So share in the comments below. Okay, so that is how you crochet the Squishy Crochet Spring Bunny. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click that subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux video updates. Thanks again.